There we go. All right, so DJ is going to share with us a recent fix and flip deal that he did in the Sacramento area. Um, Take it away, DJ. Maybe start off with quick bio about yourself, how you got into real estate, and then share about your deal. After DJ's presentation, we're going to have a chance to ask questions, share thoughts. So it's going to be an open conversation after. So in the meantime, DJ, do you want people to, if someone has questions, you want them to wait initially and then maybe save them for after?
Yeah, let me just go through the numbers
Awesome.
in full, and then we could kind of talk and ask questions. I'm happy to answer questions for anybody in it, whatever we got.
Okay, cool. And then after that, we'll do breakout groups into smaller rooms for closer networking. So, DJ, take it away.
How much
Thanks.
time you want me to go, Sergey? What's my timeline?
I think we should be good until 7. So let's shoot for maybe 30 minutes, and then we can roll over into discussions and questions. That generally works out fairly well.
Got it.
Does that sound good?
That sounds great.
All right. So
I'm going to screen share if that's okay.
Yeah.
Can you set me up for screen share?
Give me 1 second.
Make me a host.
Yep, that's true.
Okay, well, I'll just get started. Sergey, thanks again for having me on. I really appreciate it. And it's great to be able to provide some value to a group that provided so much value for me when I got started. Okay, here we go.
Able to do it? Awesome. Yeah.
Yep, so I'll just say a little about me real quick. I'll start with that. Come on, where are we at? Here we go. Okay, so for those of you guys that don't know me, my name is DJ Dawson. I created Equity Boys, which is a real estate and financial education group that I've created to essentially help bridge the gap on financial literacy that we don't get in the school system. I went to public school, like I'm sure a lot of other you did, or even if you didn't, I'm sure you guys recognize financial literacy is something that wasn't taught to us through a school system. We got algebra 2 and y equals mx plus b, but people don't know how to balance a budget or do anything in respect to taxes. And I created this to, like I said, help bridge the gap on 1, and 2, be a living example of somebody who's, quite frankly, a very normal guy, come from a really normal background, and was able to, make something of themselves through, my own business. And in turn, I'm hoping to utilize this as a means to give back to my community. So I'll just get started. About me, I was born in Vallejo, California. I attended the University of Redlands from 2011 to 2015. Played football down there in Southern California. I got a degree in business administration, minor in psychology. From there, in the second half of my senior year, I had like a midlife crisis because football was now over. School was now over, essentially. Back half your senior year, you have 1 or 2 classes. And I had an identity crisis. This whole student athlete tag that I had pretty much attributed to my person at that point in my life was now gone. And I had to figure out, who I wanted to be and what I wanted to do in my life. And so at that point, pretty much I was able to take the whole second half of that year and just study like anybody and everybody who was mover, shaker, in American and world history, whether it be through social activism, politics, business, whatever it may be. I looked at everybody. And I came across that number that they say all the time, 90% of America's millionaires are made through real estate. And then I found Bigger Pockets in like March 2015. And that was like, boom, like I went through 3.5 years of college, had no idea what I wanted to do. And then stumbling upon Bigger Pockets at the end of the 4th year, I immediately knew what I wanted to do, just for seeing people from all different walks of life come into this field. Old, young, Black, white, Asian, Mexican, females, males, it didn't matter. People from all different backgrounds and all different walks of life have came into this industry and had success. And I told myself, I'm not afraid to go out there and talk to people. I'm not afraid to work hard. I know what that looks like. If I could put the pieces together and surround myself with good people, I could do this too. So I knew this is what I wanted to do. Fast forward a month, I had my graduation. The very next day from graduation, one of my old football coaches from back in the day reached out to me and said, "Hey, DJ, congratulations. You did things the right way. Are you interested in working for my company?" I'm like, "Oh, your company? Like, who's your company?" He's like, "Oh, Amazon." I'm like, "Your company? What?" And he's like, "Oh, well, it's not my company, but I'm pretty high up. And, if you interview, you might be able to get a job." So I said, "Okay." So I had this whole wholesaling campaign I was going to do around my college, which is all based around like, aren't you tired of drunk college kids passing out your lawn or banging at your front door thinking it's their house at the end of the night? Sell your house to me. And I was going to do wholesaling, right? Everybody's step one. And I graduated in May or April, interviewed in May, and then I got the job with Amazon like a week after that. And then I was like, okay, $55,000 a year, $5,000 moving bonus. I made it. I don't got to do nothing else. I'm going to just do this forever. And I thought it was a good idea, and it was a good start for me. But 3 years, the honeymoon phase wore away, and I was like, you know what? This isn't it for me. So I did the Amazon thing for 3 years, moved all over California, opening up new facilities. Then we opened up the one here by the airport in Sacramento. I moved up to Sacramento. My family's off in the Bay Area, so it seemed practical. The house prices were pretty decent. And I was like, why don't I buy a house and get some roommates and house hack? So I bought my house in 2017 here in West Sac for 300,000. I've been house hacking it ever since. Done pretty well for me. Kept my living expenses low. And while I wrapped up my 3 years with Amazon, I was able to save up as much as I could, get my stock bonus, and then at that 3 year mark, I turned in my 2 weeks notice, turned in 2 weeks of vacation, and then left and never walked back in. Could I have stayed a little bit longer and maybe saved up a little bit more, or even had a better plan in place? Yeah, I could have, but I just did it, which I might not advise for everybody else, but that forced situation may kind of make it work out. I'm a partner in my brokerage, Sierra Bay Real Estate and Development, who I joined in 2019. And then I was recently selected by Mayor Martha Guerrero to be the Commissioner of Economic Development and Housing Authority here in West Sac. Kind of long. So the vision, financial literacy and personal development is really my focus, to provide for the people who may not have opportunity to come across the education that I've been fortunate enough to come across up until this point in my life, but to be able to give it to the next generation is what it's all about. Representation matters. People that it took a long time before I saw anybody, quite frankly, that looked anything like me that was doing anything in the real estate space. When I started to put myself out there more and more, I still think the numbers are skewed, but I think representation matters. And to see people who may look like you, I think goes a long way in helping you believe that you too can make this thing happen. Proof of concept. I want to be an example to my community through my business, and not only what I do with my job, but what I do outside of my job, which I think says more about who you are as a person than your 9 to 5. We're all adults. We're all supposed to have some sort of job to support our family. What do you do outside of your work that, like I said, says more about me to who you are than your job itself? And create passive income to allocate more time to community development in addition to my real estate business. So my game plan: fix and flip properties locally here in my market and sell real estate as an agent, and roll that income and profits from those deals into out-of-state multifamily properties. I want to get to 5K of passive income by 35, 6.5 years to get there. At this point, I estimate that'll be 8 to 12 units, but ultimately cash flow is king. However I could get my hands on cash flow, whether it be through real estate investing or being part of the brokerage that I'm with now, or some other cash flow passive income strategy, that's what I'm going to do. Real estate is the vehicle that works for me and the one that I understand. And right now, that's what I'm going to do. I don't look to divest from that too much. I think those who dabble are destined to fail. So I'm all in. And I have a YouTube channel, Capital City Conversations. This is just simply created to create and shine a light on local businesses and people here in the area and support local growth. We filmed the episode Friday, showcasing the Mercy Housing Project here in West Sac. It's 85 units of homeless transition housing that you guys may have seen if you live on West Sac on West Capitol Boulevard. We showcased that with 2 real estate investors from the Bay Area, the Divine Brothers. If any of you seen their YouTube channel, they're awesome. They came out. We had lunch at Fixins in Oak Park, and then we toured my current flip I'm working on in Arden. So if you guys get a chance, or on YouTube, check out my channel. Okay, if that wasn't too long, let's get into what you guys are really here for. So this is a property I picked up on on December 14th. I'll just start with the numbers. This is a fix and flip property I picked up on December 14th. I got it due to a real estate agent, a good friend of mine, Ryan Longley. He's amazing. He had a deal, and in this point in time, he was working on another deal, I think, to where he basically didn't have the capacity to do this one. So he said, "Hey DJ, I got this deal. If it may be of interest to you, you just let me represent you on the back end and list it as the listing agent, and we'll call it square. Essentially, it's finder's fee." I said, "Okay, that sounds totally fair to me. Let me run my numbers and see what I got." We ran our numbers together, walked the property, counted for my commission for him on the back end, and everything looked pretty square. And I said, "Okay, let's do it." And this is how I run my numbers right here. So anybody who has any questions about this after the fact, or would like me to send this to them after the fact, I'm more than happy to do it. This isn't secret information. You guys could go out there and find it yourselves as well. And to be honest, this is not perfected, but it works for me, and it's pretty damn close. I'm sure there's adjustments that I could be made. This is a living document, so please keep that in mind, but it's pretty damn close from everything I've been able to see up until this point. And so just take that for what it is. So I'm going to go over the purchase and then the sale of the property, because there are two different mechanisms you have to consider when you're looking at this thing in totality. So first, we're going to focus on the purchase price. So what do you do? What do you do first when you're looking for a deal? First of all, you determine, okay, what's it going to be worth at the time that I need to sell it? I always reverse engineer it whenever I'm looking at a flip, and that'll get me to my purchase price, and that'll say, hey, this is what I could do, take it or not, but I have to stick with my numbers and go from there. That takes the emotions out of it. Stick to the numbers, stick to the numbers, stick to the numbers. That's what I gotta say 10 times out of 10. It's never a personal thing, it's business. So let me start there. So we reverse engineered it and said, okay, we believe if we have a comp that sold for exactly 370 in the dead of winter, we know that the spring is coming. We see the trajectory of the market right now, and this is late 2020 going into this year. And we said, okay, worst case scenario, we think it could sell for 370. In that scenario, are we okay? Well, let's go take a look at the property itself. How much work is it going to take? So me and my team, we go to the property, we do an extensive walkthrough of the property to determine what's good, what's bad, what's a red flag, what's going to cost us, etc. We bust out what we think our high-end cost will be for this property. And then after that, we account for, our interest and the loan and everything that comes with that, whittle that down. And then you say, how much money am I totally comfortable walking away with on this deal? And for me, it's based on how long am I going to be in on the project. I've kind of told myself, and again, this is just how I do it, not how everybody else does it, but if I'm going to spend a month in a job or 2 months in a job, I want to make at least like 12K a month. So if it's a 2-month job to walk away with 24K, for me, that's great. I mean, if it's 20K, quite frankly, F it, I'm cool with that too. But as long as we could get in and get out, and the time versus the money you get back on it, it's justified for you, then I think it's a slam dunk. And if you know what you're doing. So we walked this property, we determined, okay, it's going to be about $55,000 of rehab. Okay, well, what does she want to sell it for? She started at 265 or 275 actually. So what I always do is as an agent, I call roof doctors, because Roof Doctors is a roofing, they probably don't want me to say this, but they're a roofing inspection company that'll go look at a roof for free. They essentially will get out there pretty quickly, get you a bid, and so you can see what the costs are going to be to certify that roof. So we had Roof Doctors go out there. They went into the house, checked it out. My electrician gets out there, checks it out. My main sub comes with me, and we kind of look at the whole project and this, that, and the other. And that's how we determine, what's it going to cost to fix it up. And if you guys want more details on how I'd come with those numbers, I suggest you guys check out this book, The Book on Flipping Houses by David Green, or Jay Scott, Bigger Pockets. That will help, but really until you get in the field, you don't know what you don't know. So we said 55,000, got into talks with her a little bit, worked it up, worked it down, when we came to a 257 purchase price. So we said, okay, now let's look at how we put the numbers together to even afford, can we even afford this? And is it going to make money for us on the back end? So at this point in my career, I'm doing my projects through private. We have a hard money lender. The hard money lender finances your purchase and your rehab money. So when I go to the hard money lender, I'm getting it all in one loan. So what I have to do for how it works with them is, if you're following me here, so they're going to send an appraiser out to the property and say, okay, what's the property worth when it's all said and done? And based on that appraised value, they're going to give you a loan. Now, when I first started with them, it was 70% loan to value, meaning if they go and say that the house is worth 100,000, they're willing to loan you 70,000. Well, let me pull it back a little bit more here. So we got our purchase price of 257, a rehab budget of 55,000. Together, we call that our all-in number. Okay, so our purchase and our rehabs are all in. The appraiser is going to go out there and look at the property and say, this is what the appraised value of the home is. Now, the lender at this point in my career, I've gotten better terms now, but let me just continue. They're going to loan you 70% of your appraised value. So that's 259. So from there, we say our all in, which is all the money we need for the job, minus what they're willing to give us, 259, equals 53,000. This minus this equals, essentially, this is our down payment. Now, we pay for an appraisal, we pay for insurance, which varies based on the property, and we pay closing costs. With this being an off-market deal, typically the buyer structures it to say, hey, your incentive to work with me is get agents out of the picture, I'll cover your closing costs, make this as easy, as seamless for you as possible. So I estimate it to be about 2%. Sometimes if it's up a little bit more, sometimes down a little bit, but that seems to be a pretty ballparkish number where I could figure it out from there. And then we got our points. So a point is basically pay to play with a hard money lender. They're going to give you this loan for this project. You're going to pay them money up front for the sake of doing it. The borrowing requirements for hard money lenders is typically a lot less than you'll see for a conventional loan, and you pay for it. But quite frankly, if I were to buy this house with a conventional loan, I'm going to have to put 25% down on the purchase price and then finance the rehab myself. So that's typically more money than I have to come up with than doing something like this. And now I've even refined it even more to where we got better terms, but I'll continue to go on. So your down payment, appraisal, insurance, closing costs, points. And again, a point is 1% of the purchase price, or of your loan amount, excuse me. In this scenario, I was paying 2 points for my deals with them. I'm now down to 1 point, which is basically saving me, $2,600 or something like that. So that was a big threshold and win for us to get past that hurdle now, but this is it. So 53, 350, 1350, 5,000, whatever, comes out to about $65,000. So I know I need to come up with $65,000 to make this deal happen. Now, my money is finite, as I'm sure everybody else in this room is as well. So our ability to just drop $65,000 on a deal and then continue the hunt for another deal is semi-unrealistic, at least for me. So what I've been able to do is build a rapport and trust with investors who want to join and partner with me and make money on these deals. And that allows me to keep my money out of the deal and continue to search and be able to do another deal. Maybe if I have my own assets or the opportunity cost that I have is still there. And I'd rather take 1% of 100 people's efforts than 100% of my own. So scaling out, granted, slices the pie up a little bit more, but quite frankly, I'm happy to work with as many different people as I can because nobody does it on their own. And if you think that, you're foolish, and put your pride to the side and recognize that life is a team sport. And the people who make it to the top, not just 1 or 2 deals or 3 deals a year, make it to the top, they do it because they partner with others. And they're more often than not happy to tell you that. And so this deal in particular, I needed to get $65,000. So my friends, Lisa and Leo, who are in this very group, who I've met through this very group, they partnered with me on this deal. And this didn't just say, hey, nice to meet you, can I borrow $65,000? No way. We did a deal in like 2019 together, which was a much smaller amount of money. And then we did another deal last summer, which was like 20 or something like that. And then, they were looking to sell their home. So I helped them sell their home as well. We did some improvements to their house to help them, get top dollar. I gave them some advice. Leo went to work on the house like no other. And we got a number that probably none of us thought we were going to get for the house. And, again, this is continuing to build rapport, and more so than that, just relationships with people. I really try to live by people over profits. And like when you put that secondary, the rest will work itself out as long as you know what you're doing, are able to articulate your message, you're explicit about what you're doing, and people know you're not fucking around. Quite frankly, sorry for the language, but people that know me, they know that I'm serious about what I'm doing, and I like to have a good time like everybody else. But when it comes to this, I'm on it and I'm not playing with it, because this is my business, this is my livelihood. And if I want to be an example, I need to show that. So with that being said, like a lot of you guys here, when I first got started, I was at all the meetups. I didn't know anybody in real estate. I wasn't a real estate mogul. I didn't know anybody in real estate. I didn't know any doctors or lawyers or millionaires or anything like that. But I knew if I was serious, I needed to put myself in the circles to prove that. And it just started with going to meetups and meeting people, and like reading all the books is great, but actually meeting people who are doing it provide a proof of concept that no book's going to be able to provide for you. So back to the deal. I needed 65 grand to do the deal. In this scenario, whenever I structure a deal with anybody I'm working with, I like to make it extremely overly simplified, so everybody knows what they're getting themselves into. I don't want to do amortization or APY or any of that. I want to make it as clear as day for you and for me, because we're on the same team. So let's try to oversimplify the deal and make it very easy for everybody to grasp. And truly, for people who aren't involved in real estate or know anything about loans or anything like that, but they want to invest, it could be a little overwhelming when you start talking about all that loan mumbo jumbo. And instead of you say to somebody, hey, you loan me $50,000 at 10%, you're going to make $5,000 on your money when the deal's all said and done. That's pretty simple. For me as an investor, it's easy to write that into my bottom line and continue and do what I do. Could I probably, if I was really on the hunt to go find, better ways to finance a deal or get way better terms, like I'm sure I could, but the headache that may come with that, or the somebody looking over your shoulder throughout the whole deal, like I value the relationship more than. And when you're talking about something like this, like what if it's going to be like a couple $1,000s more or less or whatever, like is it really worth it? Like for me, it's not. Like, so I prefer to work with people who I built relationships with first and let business come second, because I had the 9 to 5 where I walked on eggshells around people I didn't like, and I'm not going to do that again. So I've made it specifically built to where anybody I work with, I like first and business second. And they were awesome. They're still awesome. We're doing another deal right now together, but let me keep going on this one. Sorry. So we got the purchase figured out, right? We know what our purchase price is, our rehab is, our all in. We figured out how much money we got to put together to make the deal happen. We figured out what that number is, our interest rate associated with that. Now let's shift to the sales side. So we did the deal in 7 weeks. I got the keys on December 14th. We sold it put it on the market on February 1st. And I think it sold March 1st or something. It sold like March 3rd or something like that. We got 385 on it in this market. I was definitely thinking we were going to get around 380. I knew 370 was like if nothing else happened in the market, but I was quite frankly willing to take that as well because it was a 7-week deal. But I was a little, I always over conservative on my comps, but like you kind of, you have a range that you think it might land in. And we saw a scenario in which 385 was real. I'll just say that. And we did it. We got a great job on that. 385 was our final number. Our loan balance, I'm still trying to kind of work a little bit better, but I've come to find like, if you take like 1% off the loan amount after each month, it's pretty close, but I'm not exactly 100% sure on this, but the math works out. Maybe Sergey, you can provide some insight to this, but this has worked out for me thus far. And on my other deals that I ran, it's been pretty on point. So my loan balance, I had 98% of the existing loan amount, which is that 259. And then we account for, our closing costs on the back end here. 1.5% is typical, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. In today's market, as a seller, it ends up being a little less because people are clamoring to get these properties. Commissions, 5% of the sale price. Now, I'm an agent, so typically I'll list them myself, but Ryan brought me the deal. His return was the listing on the back end. I think he even got a new client out of that as well. So like, I'm happy to do that. The numbers made sense. Interest to the gap. So remember the 65,000 at 11%. 11% of 65,000 is 7,150. Account for that. Then we have our outcome here, 99,000. Pay off the principal amount of our gap funder, 65,000. Our net 34,000. I did 3K in seller credits just because I was over it. And it was just little things that, we should have gotten buttoned up a little bit more like at the end there, but I said, hey, this is fair, take that, and we move on, close the deal on time. And walked away with 31,000, just over 31,000. So I'll show you guys the house a little bit before we start to get into the questions. This was just an old gross water heater, but the house was pretty bad. It was built on a slab, so immediately I know nothing to be concerned about underneath the house. That's a plus. We don't got to worry about that like you would on a raised foundation. We got somebody in the attic to see what was going on in the attic, so we know what's going on above the ceiling, and everything in between that is pretty clear. So that's one thing I would suggest if you're looking for a flip. Figure out what's going on underneath, figure out if anything's going on in the attic, and the rest of it, you should be able to partner with somebody who's experienced to be able to identify the things you're going to need for your rehab. This was a pretty unique one in the sense that this lady had literally 30 birds in her living room. Half of her living room was blocked off with PVC pipe and chicken wire. I kid you not. And she had 30 birds. It was pretty damn gross. You have 30 birds, so you have 30 birds worth of bird food. So you're going to have rats. And she had a lot of them. And I found quite a bit of them during demo. It was gross. Here's my guy, Ryan, came through, like I said, on the deal. He's awesome. Follow him on Instagram. Kind of remodeled the kitchen, not really, but just took out the upper cabinets here to put pendant lighting in. That's where the water heater was in that closet. This is just a quick walkthrough. Kitchen, all new cabs, all new flooring, all new appliances. Popcorn ceilings got scraped, interior painted, not the exterior because it wasn't an HOA. This was a condo, by the way. The HOA, that's a story for itself. Replaced 3 windows and the 2 sliders in the back that you may have seen. Kept all the doors, repainted them, except for the front door, which was a point of contention with the HOA board, let me tell you. It was just her house, she wasn't really maintaining it the way she needed to, of course. And you have 30 birds in your house. I mean, I think that speaks for itself. The bathrooms were single plumbed, we double plumbed them, and just pretty much gutted the whole bathroom. It was gross. And you guys, letting you know too, like me doing this, you don't need experience to go out there and demo your own flips. You don't need experience to go rip out carpet and clean stuff up and source all your materials and get them all to the job site, right? So that's where I've been able to plug in from day one. And the teams that I've built up until this point, this is a gross shower, everybody I work with, they are happy to show me anything I want to know. Not every single contractor I've worked with. I've had terrible contractors who, my first flip was a nightmare. But I've waded through the BS to build out the teams, and these guys are happy to show me things. If I'm able to continue to keep them work, put a whole new HVAC system in, why would they not? And tricks of the trade you learn as you do more and more, and you just get better over time. But the way I do all my projects, I am basically the GC in the sense that I hire everything out to subs. I like to do that to allocate responsibility, as opposed to a GC saying, oh, my framing guy didn't come today, he's going to be out in 2 weeks, so That was like a gas line. So now everything's gotten kind of held up. Like, no, I could hold each sub accountable for their own piece of the pie so that when somebody doesn't show up or doesn't do what they need to do, I could fire fast, get somebody else in and move accordingly. I've come to find that's the best method if you have the time to be a GC on site. And quite frankly, that's my job. Between that and, you know, being a real estate agent, these are the jobs that I've built out for myself up to this point. I'm happy to do it. Is it something I want to do till I'm 65? Probably not. But at this point, this is our doing the demo. I'm on TikTok as well. If you guys are on TikTok. This is my guy, Mitch Jacobs. He's awesome. I met him at maybe this meetup, and he was like, I just want to come through. And he came through and helped out, and he's awesome. We're still talk all the time. I think he's on the David Green team now. So he's a real factor. He'll be around. But you see, we gutted out the whole kitchen. Those windows stayed. Those sliders got replaced. You see all the stuff starting to come out now. And as these things always go, on the day of moving out day, the lady wasn't fully moved out. But, you know, I just said, okay, it's okay. You know, you need a little bit more time. I get it. You know, how can I help you? You know, just get her out on good terms so we can move on. You know, she could very, you know, you don't want to do people like that too. Obviously, she wasn't in the best situation. She needed some help. And why am I going to just, you know, try to push an old lady out of her house? Come on now. So got all this out, replaced drywall where need be, used a lot of kills. And like I said, we were in and out. December 14th, got the keys. February 1st, there's some rat poop on the dirty water heater that I measured. Oh, there's a dead rat. Starting to tile. Now I could tile my own floors now that I've learned a little bit. I do all my outlets, my receptacles, my light fixtures. This is my guy, Jordan Marshall with Beyond Renovation 365. He's really, that's my road dog right there. We're a solid team, and he's really shown me a lot. I've been able to provide value to him as well. My buddy Dylan Vicentin, the first person I ever just messaged on Bigger Pockets when I was here in Sacramento. I said, hey, are you doing a flip? Can I come out and check it out? He was super cool about it. We've been friends ever since. And he still comes and checks out my jobs. He's still doing a lot of work here in Sacramento. It's just relationships. That's really what it is. And that's how the biggest wins I've gotten in my real estate career thus far is just from putting myself out there and meeting people. I promise you, it ain't the books. You're not going to have a brain blast because you read something in a book and now you're going to have the uber successful real estate career. You have to go meet people, shake hands and kiss babies, do the whole thing.
TTP, baby.
Jack Wyatt.
Hey.
How you doing, man?
Pretty good. Sorry, I was late.
Some scotch my electrician gave me. Dan, he might have some for you. Ask him about that. Oh, and then I got into a big old fit with the HOA board over my door. I'm not even going to get into that because it's going to just get me fired up. This was my door that it didn't work. So and this was somebody wrote me a nice letter acting like they were Donna Day, and they weren't Donna Day. They were forging her signature. I'm not even, okay, moving on again. New water heater. I only got a couple minutes before we do the Q&A, so let me find the afters.
Hey, DJ, and if you need a couple more minutes, that's totally fine. Don't feel pressured.
Okay.
I think this is good stuff because the visuals show and give a lot of information. I think that's what everyone's really interested in.
Sure. So we tiled it all up. I typically don't like to lay my cabinets on top of my tile, but this is just scenario. We did it. It's kind of a pain in the ass for the next guy. But we just kind of had to keep it moving and did it like that. And karma came back because the house that I'm working on right now, I'm keeping the cabinets, but they're laid on top of the flooring. So I got to deal with that. So, a plumber in there, getting some stuff done, new shower pan set for the master, reinforced the pony wall here in the kitchen, new PEX piping going in, new water heater, nice little niche cutout we did for the showers, master shower, flooring getting touched up, all cleaned up, coming together now.
Looks awesome, man. Looks awesome.
That hole. We framed the upper portion. So this is I have this awesome woods. I don't even know what you call it. A woodsmith? No. A woodwork. This woman that I know does badass mantles, and she killed this one. And so what we had to do, just to give it a little bit of contrast, like this rock is really ugly and it doesn't really take well to paint. So we framed the upper portion of it, slapped this mantle on, and then just left the rock on the lower portion. And we used some shiplap paneling over the top. You'll see it looks really nice. Countertops going in. These are the pendant lights that we put in as opposed to those upper cabs. I think it really opened the place up. All my finished stuff, I go black, grays. It's really basic, I know, but it's just selling right now. And you don't even know how much mental energy you have to spend on trying to figure out the finishes. And Dominique knows, but
That's nice.
thank you.
Looks good.
Yeah, I think you did good.
I now do my own backsplash. I just said, F it, I'm gonna try it. And I did it. And it's really not that hard. It just takes a little practice. I wasn't perfect, but I'm gonna get better. And the people there, they said they loved it. So, and backsplash is innocent enough. You know, I'm not out here, you know, swapping out the panel myself. I'm not doing anything crazy like that. But backsplash is something that could well be DIY'd for anybody. Coming together.
Wow.
It's my electrician. He's awesome. Does the shiplap paneling for the upper portion of the fireplace. And we had some extra, so we used it for this lower portion here for our like kind of dining. I think it really tied in together well.
Wow.
Fireplace,
That's good.
master shower, master bathroom, everything's double plumb now. Shared bath, bedrooms. And the biggest thing that I think really brings it all together as well is that stagers cover your ears, but my photographer is amazing at virtual staging. And quite frankly, if your house is going to be under, you know, $450,000, you could probably get away. I think maybe 500K and up, you probably want to actually stage it. But even in this market, you know, virtual staging costs about $300 and real staging costs about not even $300. It's $30 a photo. So I got like 7 photos, like $200. And real staging is like typically like 2,500. And this is it.
Yeah, not good to hear that. Not good.
I'm sorry.
But yes,
Sorry.
I get it. We understand.
And this is the finished product. And they did amazing. They really brought it all together. And yeah, this was 7 weeks of completion.
On that backsplash, did you do it individual tile or did you do it like those blocks?
I did, yeah, it's Subway, so individual tiles.
Wow, it looks good, man.
And you know, when it's your own thing, you're always gonna be able to poke out like the little things that didn't really like finish out that well. And you know, it's never a question of the work, the craftsmanship, never that. But just like, you know, little things that when it's your own baby, you're always gonna know, and it's gonna kind of bother you. Like I had to do the almond trimmed windows because the HOA, and I just hated it, but I just did it. And you know, it really came out great. I think and I think it sold. We had, I think 10 plus offers back to back. Did the barn door for the master because the room was kind of tight for space and it just made sense. And people are really into them right now. And you get better as you do more. Like I said, all my cabinetry, both vanities, tops, all the countertops in the kitchen you saw, that was about $6,000. I have a warehouse that I go to now that, you know, as you get better, you find more places to help reduce your costs and find more people who help you get the job done quicker and build out your little teams. And slowly but surely it happened. You know, this paint match, I could definitely tell wasn't perfect, but I'm just going to, you know, it didn't cause too much of a funk. I mean, it sold.
The thing is, only you know all the imperfections,
Yeah.
but anyone who comes by, you know, they don't see any of that. Generally.
Right. So this door was a big drama because this window was rounded and therefore not good for the HOA, despite all those other weird doors that you saw. And I appealed like a lawyer, and they still weren't having it. And after closing, I just said, forget it. My guy went over there and replaced the door. And now in my office, I have this door just leaning on a wall, waiting for the next job to get used
I
for a
love it.
left-hand in-swing door. Replace these sliders, new farm light here. All these pavers, they were already here on the site, so we just repurposed them. We could have done a little bit more with the backyard. In the winter time, it's just kind of hard, and quite frankly, the expectations are lower for a backyard in the winter when you're selling a house. And we pressure washed it, did that little thing. I thought it was okay for a small little condo backyard. It did the job. You can really see the paint match here. Oh my gosh. And like I said, guys, I'm not some brainiac that was able to just figure this. Like, I'm not a contractor. I didn't grow up as a contractor. I wasn't raised in this field by any way, shape, or form, but just by continued effort, consistent action, and just keeping my nose down and working hard and understanding you got to fire fast, hire slow. And quite frankly, going through the school of hard knocks to get where I'm at now has gotten me to where I'm at now. And I'll tell you right now, it ain't luck, but a lot of hard work and a willingness to share and just put myself out there, I think is really what it's been. And it's worked itself out.
Did you have your photographer do the video as well?
He did the video as well. So he does the video, the drone, the pictures, and the virtual staging. I think it was like $600. He's awesome. Nick Miller,
How much again?
$600.
$600. Now, does he have to be there, or can you take the pictures and then he virtuals it out?
No, I don't have the camera. I'm not gonna, iPhone is just so obvious. It's just like, you're gonna do this whole ass flip, work this whole time, and then you're gonna try to go cheap with the photos. Like, it's just pay the guy. That's kind of what I've come to find.
Oh, no, I
Right.
hear you. I have a property in Vegas, and I don't think you want to drive to Vegas for it.
I mean, I'm sure we could find you somebody in Vegas. I got some, I actually referred a client out to a realtor I know in Vegas. I could probably put something together for you, Jack.
Okay. Cool.
But we could open the floor to questions now, I guess.
Would you run us through, how did you get her? You said she started at 275 and ultimately the purchase was 257.
Yeah, it was something like that. Once I got inspections, that's pretty much what it came down to. Like, I said, okay, we got in there and said, okay, hey, my HVAC guy actually is the one that spotted it. Hey, my HVAC guy went into your attic and there's, your insulation has rat piss everywhere and there's chewed up wires and it's clear you have a rodent problem. Like, what are we doing here? And like, hey, I agree to buy your house in the as is condition, but these were obviously unseen items before, when we came in here and did our initial walkthrough. There's got to be some sort of give there, right? And then I have the roof inspection come back, and then I have the pest, and then, it's just like, I'm not trying to sell her on a number and then whittle her down. By no means is that my intention, but when new information comes to light, we have to, have a conversation about it. And that's pretty much how that went down.
So you got it under contract for 275 and then.
No, we actually weren't even under contract at this point. Again, the realtor, Ryan, who had the lead, had built a relationship with this woman. And we were just discussing before we even had a contract written up yet. So she was pretty happy to work with us, but we just had to have that conversation. And even like the contracts are obviously really important because anybody could come in at any time and swoop a deal. But like, even in my real estate agency business, and maybe it's probably different from being an investor for sure, but like, the relationships supersede the contracts anytime. Build a relationship first before you try to put paperwork in front of somebody is my experience.
I got another question if no one else does. Could you walk us through then that timeline of basically like from when your friend made the intro until I guess, closing, or basically until it was too late to back out? Like what was the sequence of events there?
Yeah, so these first pictures. What's the date on it? October 16th. So it was a solid 2 months of her figuring out where she was gonna go, helping her get the moving situation figured out, coming to terms on numbers. The escrow process was just 7 to 10 days. That wasn't a problem. Putting the gap funding together at this point, like I said, because of the rapport I've built with my team, that doesn't take long, a day or two, just to share the information about the deal. The big holdup was she needed to close in the middle of December or something like that. It was something along those lines where she needed a little extra time. That the holdup was on her end, and we were just kind of waiting in the wings for it to all pan out. And yeah, we probably got it under contract officially like December 4th or something like that. Close in about 10 days. December 14th, we closed. She still needed like 2.5 days to get all of her stuff out of the house, which we helped with, but we had to keep working too. So we helped her like corner off her section of stuff, all the stuff she wanted to keep. And then by the time she left, she just left all her crap anyway, after I'd already taken the dump, but that's just how it goes. So yeah, 7 weeks. I mean, it was really started. The first week was just a major demo. Then we had an HVAC guy come in. No, first week was major demo. Second week was the popcorn ceilings. Had my guy came in, scraped all the popcorn ceilings, retextured, mudded, sanded. That's probably a 5-day job for the whole house. After he was done, HVAC guy came in. After he was done, we probably got on to, we were framing a lot of the pony wall. My electrician, Andrew, had to come and work on a lot of the electrical. So we do all the rough stuff. The rough plumbing was going on. In the third week, fourth week, starting to put the walls back up where need be. I think my glass guy came that week, started swapping out the glass, started resetting our cabinets and we put the tile down on the floors, kitchens, baths, started to set cabinets, and kind of took it from there. I have a little bit better. I kind of try to follow I've taken the A to Z game plan from the book on flipping houses by Jay Scott. And then I've tweaked it through my own experiences and stuff that needs to come before other things. And really it's came from the painters and the HVAC guys and the people that I've hired that said, hey, you need to like, this, and this needs to come before I could even get in there to do what I need to do. And then I'm like, oh, okay, we'll do that. And then we do that. And then now next time I know. So we do it that way, but next time. And so the efficiency of our team has gotten so much better with each deal. That's the exciting part. And it's almost like we put so much in, we put so much into like trying to build out a calendar on like the first flip, and then none of that went to plan. And now it's like, hey, we know who's supposed to come in where, let's rock. And it's almost like muscle memory at this point. I know that's not super helpful for a new guy, but that's kind of how we're doing it.
Hey, DJ, how much of your own time did you have to spend on the project, just ballpark? I know you had multiple guys working on it, but you were doing some of the work yourself as well.
Yeah, I would say the first month, at least 40 hours a week. A month. No, 40 hours a week. 40 hours a week, like a job. And then the last 3 weeks, probably closer to like 25 to 30. So like I said, it's a full-time job. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, the way I see it, for 7 weeks of work to exchange 30,000 for a deal, which at the same time I'm able to work my real estate agent business. I'm still a real estate agent, closing and helping sellers in the between time. And I think doing what I do creates a unique niche where people want to work with me as a real estate agent because what I'm able to provide from my experience as an investor. So showcasing my deals and the work that I'm putting in on my projects has definitely brought me clientele as a real estate agent on the other side of it. and vice versa. So at this point, I'm still trying to perfect how to best allocate my time, Sergey. As the more deals I'm doing, the more I'm realizing, okay, the return on my time here, is it worth it from a money standpoint or not? And I'm getting better at that as well.
Well,
But
yeah, and I wasn't even asking necessarily from a critical standpoint, right? Like
yeah,
you spent too much money, because I've done the same thing. I think if you find joy in managing, then that's oftentimes more important than the money you would have saved. So that's actually awesome, because you have a lot more control over the project. It's
and for
all
me
the
being a new
details.
guy, relatively new, I'm still learning. I still want to learn. I want to be in the electrician's pocket while he's doing what he's doing. I want to be there with the painter while I see the tricks of the trade that he's
Mhm.
doing. I want to be there with and provide value. And all my guys, when they give me a number too, I mean, at this point, like the painter does his own thing, but like some of my subs, I say, hey, account for me and your labor when you give me your bid. So I get a little bit better number because they know I'm going to be there and work the job with them. Because no, I don't want to be setting toilets and laying laminate and doing those things forever. But if I'm going to scale the way I envision myself scaling, I'm going to need to start to rely on people I'm building new relationships with. And if I'm going to ask them to do a job at a minimum, I need to know what that's supposed to look like. So when they are doing it, I could quickly identify this guy doesn't know what the hell he's doing, or this guy knows what he's talking about. And I think the experience I've gained by doing this, the monetary aspect is probably not much, maybe. It's helpful. I mean, getting everything on site and stuff like that, like, but the exchange for that, like, could probably be a little bit better. But knowledge is compounding. So everything I'm going to learn now and have learned in the last 2.5 years is only going to pay me dividends for the next 50 if I live that long.
Yeah, 100%. I think I'm always of the thought process that if you never get into the process, you'll never learn the insides and outs, and you'll always be dependent on other experts. So unless you have a very good partner or someone you trust well that knows that, right? You'll a lot of times people can lie to you, and I mean, it happens all the time. You won't even know about it. But if you have the
Happened to me.
experience, you've been in there, you're in much better position. So I think long term, it's a lot more valuable, because for many years ahead, all of this knowledge will put you in a much better position.
100%. The guy could go in your attic and come out sweaty as hell, looking like he worked his ass off all day. But if you don't know what he's doing up there, he could cause more harm than good. And I'm telling you that because it happened to me. My first flip that I ever did, guys, was an absolute wreck. Like, I think I lost like $10,000 to $15,000. My very first one, coming out, thinking I knew what the hell it was I was doing, and I didn't. And it was because I didn't have the team in place. I didn't have the experience, and I didn't have anybody to rely on. And, it was a huge learning lesson for me, but I came out the other side and didn't quit, and I'm doing it now. So it worked itself out.
Hey DJ, can you talk a little bit about how you came up with the rehab budget? I read the book, the Jay Scott book, but I'm just curious, like, did you have, all the subs come out like at one time, or just how'd you kind of schedule that to get your numbers right on that?
So I can show you that. I don't know where these squiggly lines came from on here, but it's all good. So I kind of created this little cost sheet, which I've been using for my deals, and it's pretty applicable to any job or any job that I'm going to do, because again, the materials typically don't change very much in pricing. Lumber now is like ridiculous, but I've broken it down by room, and then I account for my bids from my contractors in the bottom. And then, I go for, okay, I got my total. Then I got, and then I got, $2,500 in miscellaneous tools and stuff that always going to come up every time, like whether it be screws, mortar, spacers, whatever. There's always going to be a bucket of stuff that's just like kind of miscellaneous. And then I have a 5% incidental total, which is on top of the total amount I got right here. So this has done me well, but the labor piece is the one that kind of fluctuates. But at this point, like my photographer, that don't change. My cleaning service, that don't change. My pest, I always get a pest inspection before. my deals. I always do. It's 125 bucks, worth it. So you know what you got to get into. Every time I do a flip, I sell it with a roof certification and Section 1 pest clearance every single time. If I'm working with a client selling a house, I try my best to get them to get a roof cert and a Section 1 pest clearance because it provides peace of mind to buyers in the market who are willing to say, okay, let's go $20,000 over asking. Like, let's not play games. And the pest report helped me determine what my pest costs are going to be. And a lot of times too, I mean, if it's on a slab like this house was, again, okay, nothing's going on underneath the house. Let's walk the exterior, looking for dry rot around along the eaves, along the edges. Okay, let's look at, is there any exposed framing that might show us something? Like you could kind of put the pieces together like that a little bit. If you have a little experience in part with the roof report, you could kind of put the piece together. Drywall guide, this is actually drywall, electrical, the rodent was 1250. That was just because we got the report on that house. We already knew. And so on and so forth, right? Like I know, like, okay, if I got 3 windows in here and I got to do a glass, and I got to do a glass for the shower, it's probably going to cost me 15 to 2. Like that just comes from continued experience and continued working with the same guys. That's really what it comes down to, because everybody's going to say inflation. Everybody's going to say this. If you go from 3 electricians, one's going to say 11,000, one's going to say 4,500, and the other one's going to say 6,700. Like, who do you pick? Right. And that's the thing. Like, I'm at a point now where with my subs, I say, come out, bid me the job, and let's start the next day. Because I already know I have a relationship with you where I know you're going to give me a fair price, and I know it's going to be better or equal to anybody else in the market. So why even try it? Right. So at this point, this is how I've been able to do it. And we're getting better and better, right? There's always going to be stuff that comes up. On my last deal that I'm doing right now, I thought my appliances were going to cost me $2,500. It ended up costing me like $3,700. And it's because in the it's like a cabinet, wall, oven, microwave combo. And those things are expensive as hell. So like, it's still a living document. It's still a work in progress, but at some point you just got to hit it and get after it. And, this is kind of what I built through my trials and tribulations. And again, I'll share this with anybody or anything else that I've got.
Is that number at the bottom?
Sorry?
Sorry, was that 36,000 your initial estimate, and then the 55 number you had?
No, this is for another job.
Oh, it's okay.
So this Sebastian project, is that something you're working on now, or you're done with this?
It is, yeah. So I got another one that we picked up. Officially got the keys on April 18th, I want to say.
That's an awesome area. It's actually about 3 houses down across the street from a house that we flipped a while back.
Really?
And they're all, these homes are awesome because they're easy to rehab. They're all kind of similar. The only thing is that the kitchen had. Sorry, no.
Painter just finished up on this one over the weekend. I was really happy with the way it came out. I was like, I kind of want to go a little bit more bold in my color scheme because I feel like I was getting too basic. I've gotten a lot of feedback on the door, good and bad. I'm just going to roll with it.
Does it have that curve section in the kitchen as you walk into the house, and the kitchen is either to the left or right? So that's kind of a tricky spot to work the cabinets into.
Yeah, the little peninsula edge thing.
Yep.
Let's see if I have I don't think I created an album for this one yet.
Yeah, that's a great area.
I don't know.
Now, do you handle the design?
Sorry?
Do you handle the design decisions in terms of what color to paint the walls? I know you have a certain system that you kind of set up.
I do. That in itself takes a lot of energy. Like I was saying, Dominique, I have a whole nother respect for interior designers because it takes a lot. You could just overthink yourself to death on any little aspect of the property, which is why I've now gotten to a point where I just got like my Amazon carts set up where I'll just replicate the same things, black finishes. Or wait, my girlfriend's buying some bras or something. That's not me, just for the record. I just do this. I just, stick and move, I don't know why this list is so short. But my point is Amazon is where I get all my finished stuff. And typically you could find everything on there of the same finish. Whereas if you go to Home Depot, you're going to be very selective on what you could choose. And everybody else in the area is going to have the same things because it's all only place you could get certain things, right? And then the benefit of that too, right? One thing I didn't mention here with the hard money lending that's really, really key. So with this rehab budget, you only pay interest on the rehab money that you actually pull. So if I end up only using 45,000 of this money, that's going to be the amount that I pay interest on. So in what I've been able to do is now I have, a couple different lines of credit, whether it may be Home Depot or Amazon or business lines of credit that I've established at this point. I'm able to leverage those to buy my materials. And then that doesn't have to be paid back for, 6, 9, 18 months, whatever it may be. And I use that, buy all the materials, and then at the completion of the job, pay them off with the profits. So these are 0% interest cards that you get with working with these companies. So ultimately, again, continuing to refine the system to get the most bang for your buck and just getting better at it. That's what it is, just consistent effort.
DJ, does the loan balance on the sales side, so it's lower than
Yes.
the original, right? 259. So I'm assuming your payments included interest and principal as you were paying them.
Yes. Yes, they do. Correct.
Hey, DJ, who did you use for your hard money?
I use Ari Zanman Zeman with Orchard Funding.
Okay, that's who I was talking to before. So.
Yeah, and like I said, by doing a number of deals with them now, I've gotten to the point where, and here's another thing that I've done, right? Like, so when they give you a loan, they're going to give you a loan. It's either going to be 70% loan to value or 90% to costs based on whatever's higher, right? So I've built a relationship with the appraiser to where I say, hey, I need this appraisal. I mean, I'm paying him. Hey, I need this appraisal to be up there, like up there. And he said, what do you need? And the appraisal determines how much money you have to come up with, right? So in my last deal, we got it to where 90% to cost was the lower of the two loan amounts. And thus my loan was 90% of this all in, if you're following me. So the gap funding number is less, the interest on said gap funding is less, and you're making more money on the back end. So make sure you talk to that appraiser if you work with a hard money lender, because that number is going to ultimately determine how much money you need to come to the table with. And if you're borrowing it, that's going to ultimately determine how much interest you're paying out.
Yep.
Hey, DJ, I have a question for you. Sorry, is this echoey? I have a question for you about the actual rehab. For finding your subs, do you just take a lot of referrals from other subs that you have, or how do you find that network of people?
So at this point, it's been referrals, meetups I've personally attended, and I took a stab with my drywall guy through, I don't know where the hell I found him. I think it was Facebook Marketplace, and he was actually really good. But I try to work 100% off referrals if at all possible.
Cool. Follow-up question. How did you get the smell out of the house? Is that something that you do, or do other people come in and paint over it? How do you get that stink out?
So this one in particular, yeah, I had to have somebody go in the attic to replace the insulation when you pee. In the house, usually if you're able to get all the carpet out and you prime the walls pretty good with some kills and then repaint, a lot of times you're able to, you'd be surprised. But if it's up in the attic or underneath the house, or the subfloor is all soaked out or something like that, then that wood needs to be replaced. And if you open it up and you see it, you have to replace it. You can't, just cover it up. We had another house that we did in Meadowview, which the walls were discolored up to the knee because dogs were peeing all over the walls. And we literally used kills all over the house where any framing was dry or any sheetrock was dry. And it did a lot. It smelled like a great house. It cleaned it up really well.
Just real quick, DJ. Another investor I know, he uses a stuff called icky poo, and he said that stuff kills the smell in carpets, hardwood floors. It's called icky poo.
Can't forget
And he
that,
said,
man.
I don't know where, but if you look it up, it's online.
Okay.
DJ, sorry if you mentioned this earlier. My phone kept cutting in and out. But how did you know when to transfer over from your job to full-time real estate investing?
Man, so when I was working for Amazon, when I started, the stocks were like $435 or something like that. So when I signed up, they gave me probably more stocks than they would have liked at that point in time. And so they give them to you in a vest, right? Like every couple 6 months or something like that. And my last year, 9 months working there, they had me on like this weekend night shift, and I just hated it so much. It was just caused so much strain on my life and my relationships and everybody I was around, and quality of life was just at an all-time low. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get to this 3-year mark, get my last set of stocks. That'll give me, a good net stay. At that point, I had probably like $35,000 in stocks and about $10,000 to $15,000 saved up. And I said, okay, I can leverage this at least for 6 months before I make a penny to kind of figure this thing out and make it work. In hindsight, I would have kept the job for 6 months, half-assed that job as I planned my real estate exit strategy, got some more stocks, and then bounced. So I would just say, before you're leaving a job, at least be involved on a deal or working with somebody on a deal. Have something under your belt that you've done that you say, okay, there's some proof of concept here, I'm out.
DJ, quick follow-up question on kind of what you just said. Have you found that most of the hard money lenders require you to have had at least one deal before they'll give you, or like something under your belt as proof before they'll work with you?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. They're just looking at the deal, and you got to provide them a bid. So they're going to want to see a bid. So you're going to have some contractor or somebody who's gone to some length to be able to fake a bid or something, to be able to get the deal done. But these guys know what they're doing. If they're going to give a loan on a property, they're doing it because if they have to foreclose, they could sell it and still make money. So the deal's got to have some skin, some meat on the bones, and then they're going to check your credit. I think for these guys, it's like 600 credit score. They're going to see what your reserves are, your collateral in the event that they can't finish out the deal, right? They look more so on the deal than the person. And, if you say, hey, I'm partnering with, this licensed contractor of any sort, they're more than happy to work with you. And even then, like, I'm working with this guy who's done 4 flips, and here's the 4 flips that he did, and showcase that. Like, it's really like shockingly easy. I mean, I was in the same boat, like figuring it out, and it's pretty damn easy to qualify as long as the deal is there.
So I know you mentioned that the realtor showed you this deal. How do you find other deals outside of this?
So that's kind of the next big bottleneck for my business, to be honest with you. Like, at first it was like, okay, how the hell do I even do a flip? What's a flip? Okay, then you figure that out. Okay, how am I gonna actually, who's gonna come in and do the work on these flips? Okay, damn. Okay, now I kind of got a little team. Okay, how am I gonna start to finance these flips if I'm not gonna use my own money? Okay, now I figured that out. Okay, now I've got a few under my belt. Okay, now how am I gonna keep myself fed in an insanely competitive market like Sacramento is right now, right? Like, if a flip goes on the market, for me, I'm going to be battling against cash buyers who are, they don't have to deal with the same interest payments and points and everything that has to come with me getting a deal and my bottom line number. Like I said, I have to reverse engineer it. When I reverse engineer a deal, I have to account for all these interests and fees and whatnot before I could determine what the purchase price is. So that's a whole 5-figure number that these other guys don't have to account for, so they could outbid me every single time that there's a deal on the market. So it's been a struggle. It really has. Like, I'm in a position where we could scale out and do multiple jobs at a given time, but we are struggling to keep the pipeline full right now. It's just the next hurdle for my business, right? So I'm looking into a couple different off-market things to do it, but I'm also, and Sergey, maybe you could add some insight to this, as we kind of said the time versus money thing. Like, you could do all this stuff and spend all this money on marketing, but then I'm happy to work with any wholesaler or any agent or any person that's got a deal if the numbers work. So like, maybe I just continue to do what I'm doing and then build the network and rely on others to find deals. But there's something to be said about self-sufficiency as well. You don't want to be, if for some reason I became some social pariah, nobody in the real estate industry wants to work with me, I got to be able to feed myself, So the short of it is, I'm still working on it. But at this point, it's all been from off-market deals through my network. Really, it really has. And wholesalers. That's been the two sources of my last 5 or 6 deals.
And I think a lot of it really cannot depend on what your opportunities are, right? So let's say if you have just one deal, you can be all in, and if you don't have another deal to manage, go in on this deal and spend a lot of time in it and put your work time there. But then if you have, on the flip side, the opportunity to get another 2 deals while this deal is going on, then you might consider being less involved in the deal itself, but focus more on managing multiple deals, right? So it can, in my experience, I've seen that it just varied really on the situation that I'm in, and over time you're able to learn to wear all different hats and manage different situations, and then figure out what works for you. If you have like start having kids, like I started having kids, and I started realizing even more that my time is limited, where compared to before. If you don't and you have the time, that's even better, because you can spend a lot more time in the business itself. So I think it's really personal.
Totally agree. That condo that we did was 2-bed, 2-bath. It was 1155 square feet. I'm not sure the lot size. And this is actually in El Dorado Hills.
We have a couple of minutes for a few more questions, and then I want to make sure I have enough time for breakout rooms. So if anyone has any final questions, feel free to jump in. Or anything, any thoughts, any feedback, or maybe just any questions in general that you guys might have, maybe not necessarily pertaining to the deal DJ talked about.
I just want
This
to
is Rosa.
stress.
I just had a general question about who are the wholesalers. I think the key to the pipeline is the wholesalers. Do we have a lot of wholesalers in this group? Wholesalers.
Who's a wholesaler here?
They're pretty few and far between, to be honest with you. And a lot of these wholesalers kind of like daisy chain off another wholesale deal to kind of add their little fee on it. And like, I don't know, they're you'll kind of wade through the real and the fake, but they are few and far between. I'll just say that.
DJ, can you tell us a little bit more about Equity Boys?
Yeah, so it's really my passion project and the kind of why that I'm in this business. To be a real life example of somebody who's able to start something on their own and really may not, although I did go to college, it may not necessarily be the only path in which people have to go to have a successful life. I think we get so caught up, and even, many moons ago when I was in high school. I remember it was just like people were so obsessed over which school they got accepted to and all this stuff. Like none of that matters. It really does not matter. Like if you're gonna go to school, take the cheapest possible route to get there. I mean, I don't know, unless you're like maybe a doctor or a lawyer or something like that, where you have to have, you know, some super fancy school. And I'm not trying to knock on college by any means, but it's just, there's a million different ways to have success in this life from a financial standpoint, and money should not be the biggest driver. If you can do something you enjoy doing and make an honest life for yourself doing it, like that's amazing. And for me, real estate is the example of that. And if it's going to provide me an opportunity to be able to give more of my time to the community and help the people who really need it, not just home sellers and buyers, like, but the teens and young adults who don't know what they don't know. So how the hell are you gonna ever change it? Poverty is cyclical, and if your family's impoverished, you have a high percentage of being in that same boat. And education is truly the key, in my opinion. And not only that, but representation and proof of concept. You could talk about it all day in school, but seeing somebody who is actually living it, what they're talking about, not just a teacher, like not trying to downplay teachers, but like, you know, we view our teachers when we're kids or teenagers, it's different. And that's what it's all about. I'm trying to be very fluid with it because I don't know exactly which direction I want to take it. But right now, we've done some speaking engagements in local high schools throughout the area. And I spoke at Federico Institute of Beauty to kind of talk to them about the transition from W-2 to being self-employed and kind of the challenges and struggles I had with that and how that experience worked out for me up until this point. And it really is just a passion project. And if you could do something to, you know, change the generational cycle of somebody's life, like that speaks way more than giving somebody anything. And yeah, it's just it's still fluid. It really is. But that's the direction I'm looking to take it up to this point. And you know, generational wealth, guys. That's why we're doing what we're doing right now, right? It's not on it's not here to get another job. I'll tell you that.
I think a great project.
Thank you.
DJ, thanks so much for sharing. It's I think these kind of down to earth examples provide a lot of value because it shows that anyone can take on a project, right? And you just have to figure it out along the way. And it's, you don't have to be smart and know everything right away. You just jump in and you'll become smart along the way. Essentially.
And learn from others' mistakes before you
sure.
make your own.
Yeah.
Learn from others' mistakes before you make your own. If you want to have any questions about mistake making, I could fill you in all day.
Mm-hmm.
But
my suggestion is that we jump into breakout groups. And DJ, thanks again. Big thank you. And I think everyone's would applaud if we were gathered here physically. Thanks. Let's, if we don't have any other comments, let's jump into breakout groups because we have just 20 minutes for one session, and it'll give everyone a chance to meet. We have currently groups of 3. Now, if anyone jumps out of a group, if a group becomes too small, I'll just move you guys over into a different group. But currently we have groups of 3, and I will open up the rooms, and you guys can join. You should see something on your screen that pops up, and you can join the breakout groups, and we'll see everyone back here in 20 minutes.